How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a very long time since I last uploaded. I've been pretty busy with, summer classes, and also, the Crossfire's been in the shop a lot, back and forth, getting the whole fuel system sorted out, and then just one problem after another happened. I'll explain that a little later on. But I'm back, and I'm going to be making videos again, and I'll try and do it a lot. I have a lot of updates on the Crossfire, my Lexus, track days, the Lotus. Last time I uploaded, I had just received the new clear tail lights for my Lexus that I installed about 2 or 3 months ago. They work just fine. I was kind of worried they might be a little too bright, or they might end up appearing kind of pinkish because of how kind of thick the clear new lens is, but they work great. I also received the TRD body kit for this car. I have the TRD side skirts that will go right here, and they'll go up here. You can actually see on these replacement fenders from an Altezza that I have where they used to have the TRD side skirts mounted. I mainly wanted to get these side skirts because after I bought this car, I noticed that the previous owner had, I guess, driven up onto a curb or something, but as you can see, it's dented in pretty badly right here. I don't think there's any frame damage or anything really wrong with the car, but certain angles, when you look at it, you can really see how bad it's dented in. It's pretty bad from that angle right there. And here's the other side that's fine, just for comparison. So my hope is that the side skirts, the TRD ones, will cover that up completely. I also bought a TRD front lip. You can also see where that had been mounted on this bumper. So I'll be installing those in a later video. Here's the new TRD front lip that I got, and here's the one side skirt, and the other one is over here. And we also recently got the Elise back from Kinetic. My dad got a bunch of upgrades done to it, so he has some new shocks on it, as well as new sway bars and sway bar end links, if I remember correctly. And we actually found out that the car a long time ago was hit somewhere in the back or on the side. It didn't show up in the Carfax when we bought it, and it doesn't have a salvage title. But when they were going to do the camber in the rear of the car, they found that they could only get, I don't remember exactly how much camber they could get, but it definitely wasn't enough. They got more on one side than the other because one of the sides had been hit. So we're waiting on some new adjustable camber arms to come from Europe, if I remember correctly. You can actually see the difference. So there's no camber on the left side of the car. On the right side, there's quite a bit. I don't know if it's going to come through on video, but once we get that new adjustable camber arm in, then we should be able to get the camber right on both sides. Aside from all that, I've also been working on the Crossfire a decent amount. The front splitter that I bought from David Crossfire, I'm sure a bunch of you guys are familiar with him. After a long time, it just started not working as well, kind of getting loose and detached from the body. It's a great product, and I'd still definitely recommend it. But if you're going to be tracking the car, you shouldn't have it mounted the way I had mine mounted. I was just mounted directly into the front bumper of the car, whereas it really should be chassis mounted. I mean, this one was mounted into the chassis, and so were the two larger front struts, but now I'm going to try and have it so that it's not connected to the front bumper at all, and it's all chassis mounted, so that I won't be damaging my front bumper anymore, and also that'll just be safer and stronger and look better. So that's what I'm working on right now. I pulled off the front bumper so that I can kind of repair the old holes from where it had been mounted. So you can see right there's a hole, and then towards the front, a big hole right here. You can actually see the paint started chipping off. So I'm gonna try and patch up these holes with, I'm not sure what I'll use to patch it up, but I'm gonna patch them up and put touch-up paint on the front bumper and all these spots to get it all cleaned up. And then I'm also going to try and find a way to make it a little easier to detach this front bumper quickly, because right now the car is pretty low, especially with the front splitter on it. And if I can find a way to make it easier to access the bolts without having to lift up the front of the car, so I can remove the front bumper easily at the track, I'd really like to do that. It's really easy to remove the front bumper. All you have to do is take off 4 bolts holding in the grill, then 2 up here, and then you do one on either side. I think there's supposed to be two, but there actually weren't two on either side of my bumper when I took it out. And then you also have to undo the plastic shielding. So there's two kind of plastic air duct fender liner shields that extend past these right here, go down about here, and they also go around the bottom, and they connect to the engine under tray. And I actually ended up having problems with that because when I mounted this a long time ago, I removed the plastic engine under tray, and these side pieces, they look like this. Here's one of them, and here's the other one right here, as you can see. So this, if I remember correctly, should be the left side. Yeah, or maybe the right side. I'm not sure. But so these weren't connected to the engine under tray, so they started getting all messed up because of the wind. You can see they're all broken, and certain things have been ripped out because I removed that. So if you are going to be mounting a front splitter on your Crossfire, I would definitely recommend just completely removing these on both sides and then the plastic under tray so that you don't get them all torn up. But then once you do that, you're going to be left with a problem. The fender liner is just going to be loose, and I think it's going to be pretty easy for your car's tire to snag this and tear off your whole fender liner, which is not good. So I just recommend either taking it out or just cutting it back. So I'm planning on just cutting it back, and once I cut it back, then hopefully I'll be able to access the one bolt on either side that holds in the front bumper without having to jack up the front of the car. So yeah, that's my goal, to restore this front bumper some and make it so that I can actually completely remove the front bumper without having to jack up the car at all, and also so I can do it quickly. Also, the bolts that hold in the grill and the top of the front bumper are these annoying star bolts. I'll show you, they're over here. So we've got these ones, and we have the larger ones that look like this. I'm gonna go to the hardware store and see if I can just replace those with 10mm screws. That would make it easier when I need to remove the front bumper at the track at some point, because of course I will. It's much easier to remove those and I don't need as many tools. I'm gonna go ahead and take this outside, try and wash it off. And then once I wash it off, I'm gonna start putting touch-up paint all around the edges, and hopefully that'll look good enough. One thing that I also found really interesting is that the front bumper on the Crossfire, I'm not sure if this is on the SRT6 and the regular Crossfire or just the SRT6, but it's super heavy. I mean, like way heavier than any front bumper I've ever lifted up before. And I noticed that this front bumper, unlike others I've looked at, has a second layer of plastic on the inside. So it's got this whole layer of plastic, and it goes all the way around here. You can even see it up around here and up here. And I'm pretty sure that's what adds all this extra weight, but it really helps with the structural integrity of this whole front bumper. I could potentially remove this extra layer of plastic, but then I'm not sure how well it would hold up. I might think about removing this crash padding and stuff just for a little weight reduction. Planning on taking out these fog lights, and behind the fog lights I'll try and put a transmission cooler on one side, power steering cooler on the other side, and I'll just cover the front up with mesh, kind of like the other mesh grill that I have right now. And that'll be good because there's actually tons of space behind the front bumper on either side for mounting these extra coolers. You see, there's just tons of space. Perfect place to put them. So I went ahead and removed the fog lights on either side of the front bumper. I think they're actually going to look really cool when they are covered in mesh with coolers behind them. Each fog light was maybe about a pound or so that's a little bit of weight savings right there. I'm going to go ahead now and start cleaning up this front bumper. All right, so I hosed off the front bumper, and then I washed it with some soap, and I hosed it off again and wiped off all the water. So it's fairly clean now. It's still pretty messed up. Like, the more I look at it, the more I notice that the bumper's paint has been messed up for a long time because of, you know, little rocks and stuff hitting it. You can see all these little spots on my license plate frame. They're just messed up. So I'm gonna have to go around with touch-up paint all over this thing and really, I mean, I guess I won't really worry about the little tiny stuff, but I'm mainly gonna try and fix stuff like this. right here where the paint is really starting to come off. You know, it's clear that it one time scraped here pretty bad, and then this is where one of the big splitter rods was, and then it was nicked here somehow, and here, and there's another splitter rod spot. Here's another spot right here, another splitter rod. By the way, these front lower grills are messed up. I cut them pretty badly, but it's cut here for the front tow hook, here for the large splitter rod that I've had mounted into the chassis, and here for another large splitter rod. All right, so the bumper is now dry. It dried pretty fast because it's really hot out. So I've got my black touch-up paint pen, and I'm gonna just try and start touching up all these little nicks on the bumper and see if I can get it looking a little better. After trying for a while, it looks like my pen of touch-up paint is pretty much out. I'll actually need a little bottle of the black paint because, you know, just touching up with the little paint pen isn't gonna do anything here or in some of these spots. I did get a few of the little rock chips covered up. You can't really see them now, like this is a little harder to see. I mean, it's not great, but it's better than it was. I know that in terms of having a quick release bumper, it would probably be a little easier to just drill into my fender here and just have one of the little pins right here and there in the bumper secured with one of the rubber straps. But since I track this car at Auto Club Speedway and a bunch of other high-speed tracks, I don't really want to risk having this whole front bumper supported by just a little piece of rubber that can very easily age out and snap, because, you know, at well over 100 miles per hour, it'd be easy for that thing to snap and to lose the whole front bumper. Like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out this piece of the fender liner, and hopefully that will be enough space to just bolt the bolt right back up and secure the front bumper that way without having to jack the car back up. I also noticed that there are two spots right here, there and there, where the front bumper attaches, and it's really only accessible from the back of the car. So I'm gonna try and see if there's a way for me to set it up so that I can just undo a bolt at the front of the bumper. I know it might not look quite as nice, but then I can actually release the bumper from outside of the car, and that will be a lot better long term. And then lastly, I think the best way for making this front splitter more secure is by having some metal cables attached and drilled into the support for the crash structure. So they'll go down right here to the back edge of the splitter, hidden behind the front bumper. And we'll also have, I think, a couple more drilled in right here, going to the front of the front splitter. And then, as you can see, there've already been a couple holes drilled right here that will attach to these splitter rods. So I cut the fender liner from both sides, so I think this will be plenty of room to reach my hand under behind the bumper and remove this nut right here with some kind of tool. You can see now it's not hanging down here, and I know that might be worse for aerodynamics, but at least this won't snag on the tire. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.